What's up, guys? It's your homegirl Ramsey, and I am roaring at you with a dinosaur eye cookie tutorial. This set was so much fun to do. I have a dino loving kiddo, so when he saw me working on these, I knew I had to make a few extra for him as well. This is a tutorial just on how I achieved the dinosaur eye right here in the middle of this photo. There are so many ways I'm sure you could achieve it, so this is just my take on it. I first started with just a plain circle cookie cutter, and while the dough was soft, I just kind of roughed up the edges a little bit and formed it with my hand and baked it that way, so it kind of comes out as a little rough portion of the dinosaur face. And then I flooded in white just the eyeball shape. Just kind of free-handed that as well. And what you see me doing here is taking stiff green icing. Now this isn't like floral piping stiff icing, but it's definitely stiffer than a toothpaste consistency. And you need a stiffer consistency royal icing here because you're gonna want to manipulate it a little bit and want it to hold its shape a little more than other softer consistencies. So I just piped kind of a thick line over the top and bottom of the eyeball. And you see me here just taking a paintbrush and I'm just kind of pulling out some of that line down below to make some indentions. We all know that dinosaur skin is very perfectly imperfect with lots of scales and wrinkles and indentations. So honestly, what I'm doing here, a toddler could do. I am just laying down some icing and kind of smearing it around in strokes. I wanted to make sure I got some stroke patterns, and you'll see me right there. I just kind of smoothed out the kind of ruffle pattern I had going under the eye there, because dinosaur skin is more streaky than it is roughly. So I'm just kind of laying down a base right here and brushing out some strokes and pulling. I'll lay down a line of icing and then I'll kind of pull from that same line to brush the base of the cookie to cover it in green. And I decided to do it in green here just to go with the rest of the set. I wanted to do it in brown also, just because I think that would have looked cool too. But I kind of wanted that fiery eye, and I thought green looked just a little bit better with it. So once I have some green icing smeared all around the cookie base, and once again, you cannot mess this bottom portion up at all. I'm gonna take my icing bag and put down a few more lines of that thick icing and just kind of barely touch around those those lines that I just laid, because I want some raised up portions, kind of some veiny streaks, I guess you could say, just to kind of enhance the depth and texture of that dino skin. And you can just kind of pick, like I said, where you want to lay these lines down, but you want some streaks of various amounts of depth to them. Here I'm coming back in with a few just little bumps of icing around, and they kind of decrease in size as I go. You can see each little scale gets a little smaller, and I'm just placing these around. You know, these dinosaurs have scales, so I wanted to add some of those and just have some bumpy areas on the surface as well. And you can see I cut a pretty thick big hole at the top because I wanted a lot of icing, thick icing to come out. I don't want any thin layers. And right here, I let my base cookie sit for a little bit, and then I went back over the eye portion, just those thick lines around the eye, because I want the eyeball to look like it's kind of set inside the head a little bit, and this just kind of gives it a little more dimension and makes the eyeball pop a little more. Now comes the watercolor parts, and this is super easy too. I'm just taking a thinner paintbrush, and you see me dipping it in straight super black Americolor food gel. I'm not diluting it with anything here. I will in a second, but I wanted some deep black to kind of, like I said, inset that eyeball a little bit to make the whole cookie eye pop just a little bit more. So I put down some, you can call it his eyeliner if you want. And then I just dipped my paintbrush just barely in some water, and I'm kind of just smearing down the black that I laid, and that's gonna help create that watercolored fiery effect in his eyeball here in just a second. So I smeared the black. Next, I'm coming in with some straight lemon yellow AmeriColor food gel, and then I'm just taking tiny amounts of water to just kind of smear it around a little bit to give it that watercolored blended effect. And right here is AmeriColor Copper, and I'm just kind of finishing out the white portions with that and just kind of dipping my paintbrush just a tiny little bit ever so often into some water so that I can smear that around and blend it a little bit better. And it just looks kind of fiery and menacing. I love the look of this. And then the last portion of the eye, you're just gonna dip it straight in black and just kind of make that pupil, I guess, that scary looking pupil that's just looking at you. And then I take a little bit of white and just kind of dab it in there for a little bit of a glare. Then I am gonna come back and further pronounce the eyeball socket area with some more black. Kind of coming in with some extra eyeliner here and just painting some straight black food gel over the eyelids. Again, this just kind of creates more depth and dimension, and it looks like, gives it more of a 3D effect almost as you shadow in his eyeball. Next, I am gonna dip my paintbrush in a little bit more white and just kind of go over and smear the black eyeliner that I added. And this just, you know, blends it out and reduces any kind of harsh lines. And it also adds, you know, a few highlights around his face or his eyeball, and it just looks really cool. Here is another step you can give to your toddler if you want. Using that same brush, after I rinsed it off in a little bit of water, I'm dipping it in AmeriColor Avocado, and I am literally just streaking and running it back and forth over that green. And it is going to, with that green color underneath that you smeared around the icing, it's just going to create such a cool contrast. I also thought that a little bit of blue Wedgwood would look really cool over this green. It also goes in really well with the set, and I knew I wanted some more, you know, Dino skin, like I said, it kind of changes colors here and there, so that's why I decided to bring in a little bit of the blue with the green as well. And I am literally just smearing around, and then I'll dip my paintbrush a little bit in water, just a little bit, you don't want too much water, and then just go around the gel food color that I added just to kind of blend it all out. And like I said, you are gonna have some cool contrast with this just super simple painting technique. It's almost like a sloppy technique. It's super easy. Like I said, a toddler could do it. And once I have a good variation of the greens and the blues smeared around, I'm gonna come back in and dip my paintbrush in some AmeriColor white. And I am just gonna run it over kind of the bumpy parts and the veiny parts, the rough parts that are kind of raised up. And that's really gonna add some extra dimension to the look of this eye and further give some cool texture to this cookie. I love what the addition of the white does to the dinosaur skin. It's so cool. And finally, after the white, I'm gonna come back in with a little more avocado and just kind of darken some spots that I want a little bit more shaded. And like I said, you've heard me say this a million times already in this video, depth and dimension. That's what I'm doing. I'm just adding some areas of darkness to kind of make everything from the skin to the eye pop just a little extra. And you can be the deciding factor of where that darkness goes. You just kind of look at it and go with your feeling. And there you go. There is your menacing, awesome, super cool Jurassic dinosaur hand-painted eye. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Have a good one.